Well, you pull out and you shoot 4 times.
Yeah, the gun jammed.
Oh, the gun jammed.
Yeah.
Hold on tight, because what you're about to hear will shake the very foundation of everything you thought you knew. You think you know the King Von story. Think again. Lil Tim's involvement. Oh, it's way deeper than anyone could have imagined. King Von's sister, the one who's been quietly standing in the shadows, has just blowed the doors open and is spilling secrets that'll make your head spin. What does she know that the rest of us don't? Is she really the key to understanding the whole twisted truth behind the night of the shooting? Or is this just another desperate attempt to rewrite the narrative? Either way, this is the kind of drama we live for. But here's the thing, it's not just about her speaking out. Oh no, this is the truth bomb we've all been waiting for. You want answers? Well, buckle up, because this confession shatters every illusion and leaves nothing but wreckage in its wake. Why has it taken so long for the world to hear what she's known all along? And how deep does this conspiracy really go? You won't believe what's about to come out, folks. Is this the final piece of the puzzle, or is it just the beginning of an even bigger mess? Stick around, because what you're about to hear will leave you speechless. The world has always been captivated by scandal, betrayal, and the deep, dark secrets that lurk behind the headlines. But when it comes to the tragic and untimely death of King Von, there's a whole world of unanswered questions that have haunted the public for months. What really happened the night Von was taken from us? Who was responsible? And why has no one been able to get to the bottom of it? For those unfamiliar, Lil Tim has been painted as the villain in this entire situation. He's the one who allegedly pulled the trigger, ending King Von's life in a moment of chaos and violence. But what if we told you that the story you've been fed is not the entire truth? But maybe, just maybe, there's more to this situation than the public has been led to believe. Enter King Von's sister, who has just broken her silence in the most dramatic way possible. Her statement isn't just a cry for justice. It's a confession, a truth bomb that could change the entire narrative surrounding Lil Tim and King Von's death. This isn't just about a random act of violence or a single man's mistakes. According to King Von's sister, the night of the shooting is far more complex, with layers of manipulation, conspiracy, and hidden agendas that we've only just begun to unravel. But here's the kicker. Lil Tim's involvement isn't what it seems. For months, we've been led to believe that he was simply reacting to a chaotic situation, that he acted in the heat of the moment. Yet, King Von's sister is here to tell us a story that's much darker, much more sinister. She claims that Lil Tim wasn't some innocent bystander caught up in the wrong place at the wrong time. Oh no, according to her, Lil Tim's actions were premeditated, a calculated move in a much larger game that involved players from both sides of the street. So, what's really going on here? Could it be that Lil Tim is simply a pawn in something bigger, something more dangerous? Before we get into the specifics of King Von's sister's shocking revelations, let's take a step back and look at the history of Lil Tim. Who is he really? And why has his name become synonymous with this tragic night? Lil Tim, born Timothy Leaks, isn't just another name in the world of hip-hop and street violence. He's been involved in a number of incidents that have raised eyebrows over the years. But nothing compares to the night he allegedly killed King Von. That moment, which took place in Atlanta on November 6, 2020, has been dissected and analyzed from every angle, with people on both sides claiming it was either an act of self-defense or a cold-blooded murder. But as King Von's sister reveals, there's much more to the story than anyone could have imagined. According to her, Lil Tim wasn't just protecting himself or reacting to a threat. No, she suggests that the events of that night were part of a much bigger plan, a plan that has its roots in the tensions between King Von and those around him. But who's really pulling the strings? Is Lil Tim just a scapegoat? Someone being set up to take the fall for something much more sinister? The more you listen to King Von's sister's testimony, the more it becomes clear that there's a larger conspiracy at play. Here one that involves not just Lil Tim, but potentially others in the rap game, in the streets, and maybe even in the world of organized crime. This is where things get even more interesting. If you think that Lil Tim's involvement was just a random act of violence, you're sorely mistaken. According to King Von's sister, the night of the shooting wasn't just a clash between two men with a history of bad blood. It was an orchestrated event, a collision of forces from multiple sides, with each player knowing their role in the tragic drama that would unfold. In her words, Lil Tim wasn't just caught up in the crossfire, he was a key player in a carefully constructed narrative, one that would alter the course of events forever. So why has King Von's sister waited until now to speak out? Why didn't she say anything sooner? Well, the answer is simple. She didn't have the proof she needed. According to her, there were powerful people who did everything in their power to silence her, to stop her from revealing what she knew. But now, with everything that's happened and the public's growing curiosity, King Von's sister is ready to blow the lid off the entire situation. She's ready to give us the answers we've been craving, to pull back the curtain on a world that's been carefully hidden from the public eye. Now, let's talk about the night of the shooting itself. The mainstream story goes something like this. King Von and his crew were involved in a confrontation with Quando Rando and his people outside of a nightclub. In the chaos that ensued, Lil Tim allegedly opened fire, killing King Von in the process. That's the version of events that's been repeated over and over again, right? But King Von's sister claims that this narrative is incomplete, that there's so much more to the story that has been swept under the rug. According to her, the conflict wasn't just between King Von and Quando Rando, it was about a much bigger issue, one that involved everyone in the vicinity that night. She says that Lil Tim's involvement was not a random accident but part of a larger plan to take down King Von, orchestrated by people who wanted to see him fall, and it doesn't stop there. According to King Von's sister, the people behind Lil Tim's actions weren't just looking to take down King Von, they were after everything. They were looking to destroy his reputation, undermine his legacy, and take control of the narrative surrounding his death. This wasn't just about a single act of violence, it was about a full-scale attack on everything King Von represented. And Lil Tim, whether knowingly or unknowingly, was a tool in that attack. So, why hasn't anyone heard this before? Why did King Von's sister wait so long to speak up? The answer lies in the layers of fear and intimidation that have surrounded this case. According to her, there are powerful forces at play that didn't want this truth to come out, forces that have tried to suppress the real story for months. But now, King Von's sister is finally breaking her silence, and she's ready to tell the world what really happened. As the investigation into King Von's death continues to unfold, we're left with more questions than answers. But one thing is for sure, Lil Tim's involvement in this story is far from over. The truth about what happened that night is still being uncovered, and King Von's sister is just getting started. If you think you know the whole story, think again. Because what's about to be revealed will change everything. Now that we've peeled back the surface of this shocking revelation, let's dig deeper into the details of King Von's sister's explosive claims. The story of Lil Tim's involvement isn't just a tragic accident according to her. It's a meticulously planned series of events, carefully designed to ensure King Von's downfall. And this isn't just speculation. King Von's sister is ready to drop names, locations, and actions that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about the night that changed everything. Let's break this down further. As we've already established, Lil Tim is a key player in this game, but he's not acting alone. According to King Von's sister, the night of the shooting was merely one chapter in a long-standing feud that had been brewing for years. It wasn't just about King Von and Quando Rondano. This goes much deeper. Behind the scenes, powerful figures with long-standing grudges and agendas were pulling the strings, manipulating events, and making sure that when the dust settled, King Von wouldn't be standing at the end of it. What's truly shocking about this is the level of involvement from those around King Von. According to King Von's sister, even people within his own circle were involved in creating the conditions that led to that fateful night. They knew the tensions were high, and they knew how volatile things had become between Von and others in the game. But instead of helping to de-escalate the situation, there were those who actually pushed it to the breaking point. Could this betrayal be the real reason why King Von's sister is speaking out now? Does she finally have the proof she needs to expose the truth behind the veil of lies that have surrounded her brother's death? It's becoming clear that Lil Tim wasn't acting independently that night. He wasn't just out on his own with a gun, acting on impulse. No, he was part of a larger plan designed to take out King Von. And King Von's sister is saying that those behind the plot were people who had everything to gain from his death. These are individuals who stand to profit from his silence, his absence, and the power vacuum that follows. But the plot thickens even further. King Von's sister claims that Lil Tim wasn't just manipulated by those on the outside. According to her, there was direct involvement from Von's inner circle, people who should have been there to protect him but were instead part of the orchestrated chaos that led to his untimely death. The question is, who are these people, and what did they stand to gain? This conspiracy involves more than just street rivalry. It's about control. It's about power, money, and influence in an industry that thrives on manipulation and deceit. King Von's sister alleges that the true motive for this attack wasn't just about street beef. It was about silencing someone who had the potential to disrupt an entire system. King Von wasn't just a rapper. He was a figurehead, a symbol of rebellion, a rising star that was attracting attention on a global scale. He had the kind of influence that scared the people who control the narrative in the hip-hop world. But the conspiracy doesn't end there. King Von's sister has also dropped some extremely concerning information about the people behind the scenes, people who, as we've said, are more than just figures from the streets. According to her, there are high-powered industry figures who are quietly pulling the strings, pushing people like Lil Tim into positions of power that would serve their interests. These are individuals who have been playing the game for years, manipulating talent, controlling narratives, and ensuring that certain players stay in line. And if anyone steps out of line, they make sure to silence them permanently. What's even more disturbing is the way Lil Tim was used as a tool. According to King Von's sister, he wasn't the mastermind. He was just a pawn in a much bigger game. Lil Tim, as she claims, was manipulated and groomed for this role long before the night of the shooting. He was fed a story, pushed to make a move, and used as a scapegoat for the real masterminds behind the plot. She even suggests that Lil Tim might not have fully understood what he was being forced into, but no matter how it went down, the end result was the same. King Von was gone, and the people behind the scenes had one dot. And here's the real kicker. King Von's sister claims that the real masterminds behind the conspiracy have been untouched by the fallout. They've been sitting comfortably in their positions, continuing to manipulate events and control the flow of information, while people like Lil Tim and King Von become casualties in their battle for power. As King Von's sister spills these chilling details, she paints a picture of a world where nothing is as it seems. People who are supposed to be allies are secretly enemies. The lines between right and wrong blur, and the game of manipulation reaches its highest stakes. The tragic loss of King Von wasn't just a street tragedy, it was the result of a carefully calculated attack by people who had the means, the motives, and the power to orchestrate it. Now we're left with a multitude of questions. Who are these figures that King Von's sister is referring to? Are they really part of a larger conspiracy, or is this just a bitter sibling trying to rewrite history? And most importantly, how deep does this rabbit hole really go? As the investigation into King Von's death continues, we have more questions than answers, but what we do know is that the story we've been told doesn't even begin to cover the full extent of what happened that night. Lil Tim may have pulled the trigger, but it's clear now that he was only a small part of something far more intricate and dangerous. And King Von's sister, she's not backing down. She's got the receipts, the proof, and the determination to make sure the real truth sees the light of day. Stay tuned, because what comes next will make you question everything. As we approach the final chapter of this explosive saga, it's time to confront the fallout. What happens when a carefully constructed conspiracy starts unraveling at the seams? What happens when the people behind the scenes, the ones pulling the strings, the ones who've been orchestrating everything, realize that the truth is slipping through their fingers? According to King Von's sister, this entire situation is far from over. The damage done by Lil Tim's involvement and by the power players who used him as a pawn is only beginning to make waves. There are legal repercussions coming, and they'll be massive. The repercussions aren't just limited to Lil Tim or the people who pulled the trigger that night, they stretch all the way to the elite players who orchestrated the entire scheme. First off, let's talk about the legal fallout. King Von's sister claims that what happened that night wasn't just an act of violence, it was a premeditated crime. And as investigations continue, she believes that Lil Tim will soon realize that he's not just facing charges for the murder of King Von, he's going to be involved in a much bigger case. This isn't just a case about self-defense or street rivalry anymore. Lil Tim's involvement is now part of a much larger criminal conspiracy, and the walls are closing in on everyone involved. You might be wondering, how far does this go? Who else is involved? Well, according to King Von's sister, the trail leads all the way to people in powerful positions. She hints at individuals who have been manipulating events from the shadows, people whose influence stretches beyond the streets and into the highest echelons of the music industry, criminal networks, and even corporate entities. These are the kinds of people who have the money, the influence, and the power to keep the truth buried for as long as they can. But as King Von's sister reveals, that's not going to last forever. While the investigation into King Von's death intensifies, Lil Tim is starting to feel the heat. According to sources close to him, he's realizing that he's not just being blamed for a random act of violence, he's being set up as the fall guy. And that's where things get truly unsettling. The more he starts to piece together what really happened that night, the more he begins to realize that he's been manipulated into taking the fall for something far bigger than himself. But who's really pulling the strings? Who benefits from King Von's death, and why is Lil Tim the one left holding the bag? As the pressure mounts, there's speculation that Lil Tim might start talking. Sources say that he's beginning to feel the weight of the situation and is considering cooperating with authorities. But the question remains, will he have the courage to speak out, or will he continue to protect the people who put him in this position? His decision will have major implications for everyone involved, but especially for those who've been quietly orchestrating this entire tragedy from the shadows. Meanwhile, King Von's sister isn't backing down. She's been vocal about her intentions to ensure that the real masterminds behind this scheme are held accountable. But she's not just going after Lil Tim and his co-conspirators. She's calling out the larger figures in the music industry and beyond who have played a part in this conspiracy. King Von's sister isn't just fighting for justice for her brother. She's fighting to expose a network of corruption and manipulation that's been allowed to thrive unchecked for too long. And the more she talks, the more she unearths. The media, of course, isn't helping matters. While King Von's sister is busy making these explosive claims, mainstream outlets are doing everything they can to downplay her testimony, keeping the narrative focused on the street violence angle. But that's the thing, if this truly was just about a street altercation, Why is King Von's sister so sure that there's a larger, more complex conspiracy at play? And why are the powers that be so invested in covering up the truth? The investigation, as it stands, is becoming a massive legal and financial nightmare for everyone involved. Lil Tim, who was once seen as just another player in a gang feud, is now at the center of a case that could involve multiple legal jurisdictions and potentially even international ramifications. If it turns out that this conspiracy reaches into the upper levels of the music industry, the legal and financial consequences could be devastating for those who thought they were untouchable. But it's not just about the legal repercussions, it's about the public backlash that's starting to take shape. As King Von's sister continues to speak out, the public is starting to see this for what it truly is. Not just a tragedy, but a calculated attack on someone who was trying to make it out of the streets and into something greater. The narrative is shifting, and people are starting to demand answers. The outrage is palpable, and King Von's sister is becoming the voice of those who feel like they've been lied to. Now, let's talk about the media, the very same media that helped shape the public's perception of Lil Tim as a villain. With King Von's sister now in the spotlight, things are changing. She's not just telling her side of the story, she's demanding that the world listen to the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it may be. As the public continues to rally behind her, the media is going to have to take notice. Will they continue to spin the narrative in favor of the powerful figures behind this conspiracy, or will they finally acknowledge the truth that King Von's sister is so desperately trying to expose? The stakes are higher than ever. Lil Tim's future hangs in the balance, and King Von's sister is determined to make sure that the truth doesn't stay buried. As the investigation progresses, more secrets will be exposed, and the full scope of this conspiracy will begin to come into focus. But here's the real question. Will anyone in power finally take responsibility for the role they played in this tragedy? Or will they continue to pull the strings from the shadows, keeping the truth from ever seeing the light of day? One thing's for sure, the fallout from King Von's death is far from over. In fact, it's only just beginning. And there you have it, the truth, the lies, and everything in between. But this story is far from over. As King Von's sister continues to expose the secrets that have been buried for so long, we're left with more questions than answers. The legal battles, the media manipulation, the powerful figures pulling the strings, it's all coming to light. But will the truth finally break through, or will it be buried once again by those who want to keep the power for themselves? What do you think? Is Lil Tim the pawn in a much bigger game? Are there truly powerful people behind the scenes, orchestrating everything for their own benefit? Is King Von's sister telling the truth, or is this just another layer of drama in an already tragic story? We want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you believe the conspiracy is real? Will justice ever be served? And what do you think happens next? Don't forget to hit that like button if you're shocked by what's been revealed today. Subscribe to Spillora for more breaking stories like this, because you know we're just getting started. Click that notification bell so you never miss out on the latest updates as we continue to peel back the layers of this explosive story. The truth is out there, and it's coming for everyone. Stay tuned, because what happens next could change everything. Until then, keep watching, keep questioning, and keep digging, because this is far from over.